So you're never going to believe this, right? But because I've been writing so much about Brooklyn and Nicola, they've only gone and blocked me on Instagram.
I think that the use of Instagram in this whole story is incredibly interesting.
At that point, Victoria became furious.
Brooklyn very much knew what he was doing and getting that message across. I'm not happy.
I think the Beckhams have accepted that they've probably lost their son.
Victoria Beckham was blocked by her own son on Instagram on her birthday. This isn't just a family feud, it's a public unraveling, a mother's heartbreak, a father's silence, and a son who walked away in front of millions. Would you cut off your parents if they hurt the person you love? Or would you expect your partner to compromise for family? Let us know in the comments, because after watching this, you might change sides. When a son blocks his own mother on Instagram, and she's Victoria Beckham, that's not just a digital snub. That's a scorched earth message, especially in the Beckham universe, where social media isn't personal. It's public currency. It's how they celebrate, how they communicate, how they protect the brand. For Victoria to be erased from Brooklyn's feed is to be erased from his life. The block wasn't private. It was strategic, a way to show the world and his parents that something had snapped. Behind closed doors, insiders say Victoria was livid, and Brooklyn, he didn't flinch. Not only was he gone, but he made sure everyone knew it. The once golden child of Britain's most curated family had gone radio silent, and no one understood why. Or maybe they did. This wasn't about a family fight. It was about power. The Beckhams may have built Brooklyn, dressed him, styled him, posed with him, but now they were shut out, unfollowed, and watching from the sidelines like everyone else. When you lose someone in private, it hurts. When they delete you in public, it humiliates.
Brooklyn Beckham was born into one of the most famous couples in the world then and still now. And then just 4 months later, July 1999, David and Victoria got married and very proudly displayed Brooklyn in this purple suit. That was definitely sort of a display, I think, of what Brooklyn had to come for the rest of his life. It was then brand Beckham, you're part of this family.
Brooklyn wasn't just their first child. He was the foundation of their empire. When Victoria married David in 1999, she held Brooklyn in her arms, dressed him in purple silk, and told the world, this is what legacy looks like. The message was clear. He wasn't just family, he was product. From toddler to teenager, Brooklyn lived under spotlights and flashbulbs, not for who he was, but for what he represented: unity, perfection, and a carefully curated family image. His life wasn't his own. He was Beckham before he was Brooklyn. So when he disappeared from family photos, when he stopped tagging Victoria, when he went silent on Instagram, it shook everything, because the kid raised as the glue of brand Beckham had walked out. It's easy to judge from the outside, but what happens when the life you were born into stops feeling like yours? When family means performance, perfection, PR? For Brooklyn, detaching from the brand may have been the only way to finally become himself. The problem with being born into a brand is that people forget you're a person.
Brooklyn and Nicola, they met at Leonardo DiCaprio's Halloween party. So I guess you'd have to have some credentials to get in the front door, wouldn't you? You know, David and Victoria liked her. You know, they're very welcoming of their son's partners. They went official on Instagram, which is basically telling the world that they are together and they're delighted that they're together. And David and Victoria are obviously, you know, the first to congratulate them. And so, yeah, then we knew we had the beginning of Beckham 2.0. Brooklyn moved over to stay with her in America. And yeah, he popped the question. I mean, look, he was completely infatuated with her. I think he wanted to move fast. He wanted to move quickly to, you know, put a ring on her finger, I guess, and make sure nobody else got her. In April 2022, the wedding, we had this looming wedding, and that's where it all started to unravel.
From my understanding, the feud started when Nicola refused to wear one of Victoria Beckham's designs. Nicola wore 3 dresses throughout her wedding day and into the night, and none of them were any of Victoria's designs. A young woman sort of dreams of this day from a really young age, so I think she probably had an idea of what she wanted. It begs the question as to whether Nicola asked Brooklyn to pass that message on, or whether she might have had that exact conversation with Victoria. But once that conversation would have been had, I can only imagine Victoria's feeling towards that must have been quite bitter, for sure. After the wedding, everything seemed to be absolutely fine. So sort of putting out that message that we're happy families, happily married, we've accepted Nicola into the family.
Brooklyn didn't drop out of family life immediately, but Nicola wouldn't be at family events. So she didn't go to one of Victoria's fashion shows, for example. What this meant was it was pretty obvious that, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law had fallen out.
It started with a dress. Not the wedding itself, that came later. The tension began when Nicola Peltz, a billionaire heiress marrying into a fashion dynasty, said no to her mother-in-law's design. In the Beckham world, where loyalty is worn, literally, that was a dagger. Nicola chose 3 dresses. None of them were Victoria's. The family put on smiles. The Instagram captions stayed polite, but beneath the filters, resentment festered. That wasn't just bridal preference, that was defiance. What followed was subtle, but brutal. Nicola began missing family events. Victoria's fashion shows, birthdays, brand launches, all skipped. The smiles faded, the posts slowed, but Brooklyn, he stayed by Nicola's side.
Through Instagram, I went through the last 2 years to see which events Brooklyn had been at, because if he'd been there, he definitely would have been pictured and they definitely would have posted it. We found that there was about 11 or 12 events that he hadn't turned up to or perhaps hadn't been invited to. And big events as well. Fast forward to April 12th, I felt like, got our confirmation that something was definitely going on here. It was Brooklyn and Nicola's 3rd wedding anniversary, and nothing was ever posted.
The Beckhams didn't wish them a happy wedding anniversary, which for the Beckhams is unheard of.
What's really interesting about this was that Brooklyn posted a picture to his Instagram story of a bouquet of flowers, I think it was, or some sort of hamper. And the first photo said, "Thank you so much. What a lovely gift to receive." Now, that post was only up for a couple of minutes before he then took it down, he deleted it, and reposted the exact same image with a different caption that then thanked his in-laws, Nicola's mum and dad, for sending it to him. So at the time, that very much felt like a dig to his family for probably not sending anything. I think he was being absolutely clear as to what message that he wanted to get across, and that was that this hamper was not from his own parents, but from his in-laws instead. Moving on to the week later, which is then Victoria Beckham's 51st birthday, and Brooklyn again fails to post anything, any recognition of his mum's birthday. I remember saying to Katie at the time that he's got to post something, it's his mum's birthday. I think once again, Brooklyn very much knew what he was doing and getting that message across that something has happened here, I'm not happy, and I'm not going to publicly say happy birthday to my mum.
Instagram again. But this time, it was even colder. On the day of his 3rd wedding anniversary, Brooklyn posted a soft, elegant photo, a gift basket, no caption, no tags. Then he deleted it and re-uploaded it, this time with a clear thank you to Nicola's parents, not his own. The Beckhams said nothing, but for fans who watch every Beckham post like gospel, the message was obvious. Days later, it was Victoria's 51st birthday. Brooklyn posted nothing. No "I love you, Mom," no throwback, no emoji. In the Beckham playbook, that's a slap in the face. David turned 50 just days later, and again, silence. It wasn't a scheduling issue. It wasn't forgetfulness. Brooklyn and Nicola were in London. They knew about the parties. They were invited. David had even chartered a private jet to his favorite winery in Bordeaux. His son said he'd be there, and then he didn't show. For David, it wasn't just heartbreaking, it was humiliating. Brooklyn didn't miss those birthdays. He skipped them on purpose.
A couple of days later, we're now up to April 19th. We're now starting to think about David's biggest birthday ever, really, which is on May 2nd, which is his 50th birthday. And we knew that there was going to be sort of week-long celebrations here across Europe, really. There's going to be multiple opportunities that Brooklyn could join and come along. So we started to ask questions as to what those events are going to be, and is Brooklyn going to show up?
We're heading towards the big milestone birthday week, and everyone's really excited, and it's going to be so fabulous. Brooklyn and Nicola fly from Los Angeles to London, and David and Victoria know they've landed in London. So they were ever so surprised not to see them at the big family party in the Cotswolds, which was on April the 30th, so 2 days before David's birthday. Given the fact that they were in the UK, staying in London, yet didn't go to this party, was obviously very upsetting for David and Victoria. On that occasion, they thought, okay, they haven't come to this one, maybe they'll come to the next one. On David's actual birthday, May the 2nd, it was a private jet from London to Bordeaux, where they went to a vineyard and tasted David's favourite Petrus wine. It was a private jet back to Paris for dinner at L'Ami Louis, which is one of David's favourite restaurants. They didn't go to that either. And so David was heartbroken. I think they really thought he would go to that one. He told them he would. And so at that point, Victoria became furious. David became upset. I think Victoria was furious that David was upset, and she was furious with her own son.
So then this brings us to May 4th. So this is where it's been David's 50th birthday, his actual birthday. Then the family ended up coming back and continuing the celebrations at Core, which is David's favourite restaurant in Notting Hill. We know that they were invited to all of the celebrations. Sources have told us that Brooklyn was very much invited.
So of course, they're really upset. The other siblings, Romeo and Cruz, just are done. David and Victoria are completely done with Nicola. There was no way back. After that, following day, David releases a series of pictures of this boys' fishing trip to the Scottish Highlands. And there are loads of pictures of them on fishing boats. This break took place 2 days before the big family party in the Cotswolds. So Brooklyn was in the country, Brooklyn could have gone. Brooklyn was invited 6 months before, as David told us on Instagram. So there was a clear intention there for David to tell the world that his son didn't want to be there. And he posted saying, "Miss you at Brooklyn Beckham." Didn't want to be there. And so that, when you see that, you're like, oh my God.
David Beckham posted a series of photos: fishing rods, laughing sons, the Scottish Highlands. But one person was missing, Brooklyn. And David made sure everyone noticed. In one post, he even wrote, "Miss you at Brooklyn Beckham." It wasn't passive-aggressive. It was just aggressive. This was no longer about rumors. David had invited Brooklyn months earlier. He knew they were in the country, and yet they never came. Behind the scenes, insiders say the family was shattered. Romeo and Cruz were done. David and Victoria, emotionally exhausted. And Nicola? They were done with her too. TMZ reported that Nicola's team blamed her discomfort around Romeo's girlfriend Kim. But here's the twist. Kim wasn't even at the parties. She wasn't on the fishing trip. The excuse fell apart fast. It wasn't just drama anymore. It was estrangement, a slow, painful exile documented in captions and silence. And for David and Victoria, who built an empire around the image of a tight-knit, aspirational family, it was personal and public collapse. They didn't just lose a son, they lost their story.